Hey, everybody. Go ahead and fire away. Any questions? Anything goes?
Hey,
Unmute
Greg,
yourself. Type in. Hey,
how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good.
I got a question for you. I'm having a little bit of a dental issue right now.
Okay.
So, cypress versus clove for addressing infections in the mouth and the sinus. My problem is I've got a hole from my molar up into my upper right sinus, my lower right sinus. So, I'm trying to knock out the infections that might be in
Yeah.
there.
So it has pierced into the sinus?
Yes, I had a tooth extraction and the tooth left a hole.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens sometimes. Um, do you have any myrrh?
Yes.
I'd go crazy with the myrrh. Like
Okay.
for a couple of reasons. So for one, it's going to be good for infection. It's good for things going on in the mouth, things
Mm-hmm.
of that nature. But it's also going to help with pain. And if you get a little bit up into the sinuses, like if
Mm-hmm.
you're like gargling or something and you get it up, clove is
Yeah.
going to burn like crazy.
Oh
And
yeah. Yeah. It lights things up.
yeah, and the myrrh is going to be very soothing. I
Mm-hmm.
would go really hard on the myrrh.
Okay.
Like use it as a gargle, take a few drops internally,
Mm-hmm.
inhale it. I don't know that I would do a neti pot with this. I mean, it probably would be okay, but I mean, I'd just do whatever your dentist said.
Yeah.
But even in neti pots, like I don't ever really talk about doing neti pot stuff,
Yeah.
but I know some medical aromatherapists that they would have people put a few drops of myrrh in the neti pot and then do the thing up the nose. And I think between taking some internally and then doing a pretty strong mouthwash with it, it
Mm-hmm.
should help. It should help with infection. It should help with pain. It should help soothe the mucous membranes. Like I think you kind of get it all with that. And if some of it goes up into the sinus through that hole, I think
Mm-hmm.
you're still pretty solid.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do some lymph circulation thing just because there's an infection.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
is there anything else about lymph circulation in the mouth I need to be aware of?
Well, I mean, I would do things just like you said to keep down infection, and
Mm-hmm.
so, rosemary verbena internally, or like one of the thymes internally,
Yeah.
bay laurel internally. Some I would still take something a little bit internally. I like the rosemary verbena just because it is good for inflamed mucous membranes in the sinuses.
Yep.
But you probably have more of a mouth thing than a sinus thing.
No, no, I'm getting stuff out of my
You're
nose.
getting them both.
Sinuses do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have some rosemary verbena, I do like 2, 3 drops internally a couple of times a day.
Okay.
You could do more if you fill up to it,
Okay.
either more often or a little bit bigger dosage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any oils specifically that will build mouth tissue? Like so I know that there's been food trapped in a hole back there and
Hmm.
it's caused some infection, which has caused some of the tissue damage.
Hmm.
Anything to rebuild tissue in the mouth.
And we're not talking about the hole into the sinuses. We're just talking like gum line.
You're right. Let's just talk about gum line right now.
I mean, cypress potentially could do it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would say even Shazendra if you had it.
Got some of that.
Um, I would do the Shazandra to be honest with you.
Okay.
Um, a couple drops internally at night before you go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you could bump that up if you can handle 4 or 5. You can do 4 or 5.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's a bummer. Like I treated
Yeah.
that in somebody. Boy, it was about 12 or 15 years ago, and Yeah, you don't really think about that piercing up into the sinuses like that, but it can happen from time to time.
There's one of the molars at the roots go back up into the sinus. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Okay. Another one on this, anything to build any oil which encourages bone creation, bone rebuilding. I know from some of your other classes, maybe
Yeah.
not, but I
Well,
gotta ask.
like in any time you're trying to like build bone back, like it's degeneration versus like a broken bone.
Yep.
But you might be able to cross over a little bit. But oil wise, marjoram can be very helpful with that. But
Marjoram neat on the area or marjoram
you
topically
can
outside.
outside, like
Okay.
you just get it outside. It doesn't have to be super close.
Yeah.
And then there is an herb um, called Solomon seal, and
Yeah.
that is actually used to help bind even like a really like badly broken bone.
Mm-hmm.
Like even if they're not seating up right,
Right.
like
Yeah.
it's like a really bad broken bone,
Mm-hmm.
spiral breaks, things like that. It's amazing. I have
Okay.
used it for osteoporosis sometimes, but for growing back some bone that's degenerated, I mean, you can give it a shot, but
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
You know,
And
I
at this,
if you do that 3 or 4 capsules like a couple of times a day. The
okay.
other thing that they used to use, I always use the Solomon seal, but is big dosages of nettle, like stinging nettle,
Yeah.
just because it's got a real high calcium content.
Yeah.
And it's in a plant material, so it's really easy for the body to assimilate. I
Yeah.
always found that the Solomon seal worked better for stuff like that, but in theory it would work. But
Mhm.
it's one of those things that it's hard to gauge like how well something works because you're usually in some sort of nasty problem that you're trying to solve, and
Yeah.
it's not like this is going to get better in 4 weeks. It's just you're trying to like prevent a surgery or prevent
Yeah.
a you know what I mean. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's not like you can go, this will cut two-thirds of the time out or something. You really can't gauge any of that.
Yeah.
And so yeah,
Okay. All right. Thanks.
you're
Next
so
question.
welcome.
Next
Hmm?
question. What's the difference between Naoli and Neroli?
Right.
Niaouli and Nerou.
Yeah. So Naoli is a oil from the Maluka family, which is in
Mhm.
like with tea tree and cajuput.
Yeah.
So it's got a little bit of that tea tree eucalyptus vibe to it.
Yeah.
Very good for strengthening the body. Very good for a body that's been like fatigued.
Yeah.
Very good for respiratory issues like bronchitis and things like that nature.
Yeah.
I like to use it, especially when it's in cases of bronchitis where there's like a foul odor coming out of the mouth, which
Hmm.
usually means like a kind of infection or something like that. I
Yep.
mean, Neroli is kind of my go-to thing.
Hmm.
Can be used for sinus issues, can be used for reducing inflammation in the respiratory tract and the sinus cavity.
Hmm.
Usually with really bad mucus conditions,
Hmm.
um, uh, used sometimes also for allergies, like, to
Okay.
help reduce the allergic response. And so neroli is the blossoms of the orange tree. So it is almost like a perfume. Neroli is like, so the orange tree produces orange oil, which is the
Yeah.
peel, and then a petitgrain, which is the leaves. And then
Hmm.
there's a petitgrain, that is basically when the flowers are in blossom or bloom, which we refer to that as a neroli petitgrain, because
Hmm.
it's being distilled when there's flowers on the tree, and then the flowers themselves. which
Mhm.
is neroli, or they'll call it orange blossom, something like that. But neroli
Yeah.
is the traditional thing. And so good for anxiety, good for relaxation, antispasmodic, good for cardiovascular issues. Um, Used a lot more for probably its psychological impact rather than its physical impact, although I do
Mhm.
treat some cardiovascular issues with it.
Okay.
And it's very like uplifting. You could treat certain forms of depression with it. Um, yeah, like things of that nature.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, yeah. So they look like they're similar in spelling, but they are worlds different,
Yeah.
worlds apart. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So this weekend in class, I let Claire sniff some ginger lily in one of our processes we used. And now she wants to know if we can make that into a perfume.
Yeah, it actually probably, sometimes some of the perfumes are just like a single oil or maybe a blend of a couple of oils, and
Mhm.
ginger lily is one of them. Yeah.
Okay. How would I make a perfume out of the ginger lily?
Well, perfumes usually use what they call perfumer's grade alcohol,
Yeah.
which is just pure alcohol with no scent. So you can get an alcohol with no scent, or if you want to kind of do it in an inexpensive way, you could also do it with jojoba, and
Okay.
just like rub it on the spots. So yeah, you would just add that into either the alcohol base or the jojoba base,
Hmm.
and then shake it up every time and dab it on where you'd like.
How many drops per ounce?
Well, I mean, I would, like as a perfume, I would probably do like 30 or 40 drops per ounce of alcohol.
Okay.
Just because it's going to be strong. And even if you use alcohol, I
Hmm.
would still put a drop or two of jojoba in the alcohol,
Hmm.
because the jojoba will act as a natural scent extender. And whenever you're dealing with something like neroli or ginger lily or jasmine or rose, anything of those natures, they're they're um, they're a high note, which means
Hmm.
you smell them really fast, but they also go away very fast.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
when you want it to linger, you do something like where you use an extender like jojoba, or you use sometimes they'll mix in what they call like a base note, which would be like benzoin or
Hmm.
vetiver or spikenard or um, tagates, the
Hmm.
really heavy oils. And you would add one drop of that
Hmm.
heavy oil to like maybe 20, 30, even 40 drops of the other oil
Hmm.
to extend the scent. But the issue is that even that one drop will change the scent of the plant that you're trying to use for a perfume.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those ones where it's kind of a hard one to say like, oh, blend this, blend that. I
Yeah.
tend to like to add a couple of drops of jojoba and just let it extend without changing the scent.
Okay.
And
All
so
right.
that's the way that I like to do it. And in
Sounds
an
good.
ounce bottle, even like 2 or 3 drops of jojoba is plenty, and then when you
Yeah.
shake it up, it will naturally extend it and not leave things greasy.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Excellent. Thanks. And
You're so welcome.
great class this weekend. Thanks. Looking
Oh,
forward to
good, good. I'm glad
July.
you enjoyed.
Oh yeah. Good stuff.
And then go ahead, Ollie, then Jennifer.
Hey, Ellie.
Hello, Greg. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. How are you, my friend?
Thank you. I'm fine. It's a strange period, but I'm fine. Thank you. Can I ask you two questions?
Yes.
One is about one of my client, and it's really a strange situation. I have this client. It's a lady, 87 years old, and about 2 years ago, she start when she is in the bedroom or in the house, she start to see the dead people. She start to see also the ex-husband that is dead, manifesting in her bed, or a group of people in her kitchen, or a group of people, and she is not more able to sleep in the bed. She sleep in the sofa because she is scared about this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I tried with pH. I tried. But it reduced a little, but the problem is still present. And so I would ask you
So,
if
so when you tried with pH, what did you do? I'm just curious.
I try to clean also all the higher scent, all the center basically,
Right.
and then to repair the web with electric violet and gold.
Okay.
And then I repair the aura with electric violet and gold, and then I do a lot of blessing. But I don't know what what else
Yeah.
can I do.
No, you did all the stuff. Okay. Okay. So, a couple of things, and I'm not sure, like, this is what I would do as the next phase, because the first thing I would do is what you already have done. Like you go through and you kind of repair all those things. But her forehead is a little bit overactivated, or maybe she's just naturally, her forehead's a little bit big, but it would make her a bit more sensitive. And I would get in and I would shrink that really hard, like lot of, like, even medium blue. You could do medium blue and then even gold. Like I would try shrinking that up, and that might reduce it. But then the other thing that I might do is you have some saffron.
No, but I can buy it.
Well, I don't want you to buy it because I'm not sure that it will work, but that let me think about this. Saffron would work.
I give her also about a little bottle of protective web to inhale.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah.
How about
I try.
do you have osmanthus?
Yeah, I have osmanthus.
Okay, have her inhale osmanthus, like right before you get to do her session. Have her inhale the osmanthus, and then as soon as she's done, like, have her put her awareness on her brain and have her inhale for a little bit. And then even as she's inhaling, first her awareness is on her brain, and then have her think of, like, the different situations, like at the house, at, just when she sees things, whatever it is. And even if there's stressful things going on in her life, have her think of those things as she inhales the osmanthus. And then when she's done, clean the right side of her brain with electric violet.
Okay.
And do that like 1 or 2 times, and then let us know, and let's see if that changed anything, if that resolved it. But between shrinking her forehead and doing that, I think that was going to nail it. Her right side of her brain looks a little overactivated, and her forehead looks a little overactivated.
Okay.
It could be that, like, sometimes clairvoyance will turn on. I was just talking about this, like, last night. I was starting to see, like, we'd pull into a gas station and I could see people walking around and stuff. And I was like, I probably shouldn't be driving anymore, because, there's just times when that happens and you can't turn it off.
Okay.
And so, like, you can shrink the forehead and you clean up the right side of the brain, and it will make it go away a little bit faster, but sometimes it just kicks on for a little bit. And, she's seeing things that are a little bit upsetting and disturbing. So, it doesn't help. So, it's one thing just to see people on the street, but, like, in your house, that starts to get a little weird and creepy. So, I mean,
only in her house. She see only in her house. And also her mother told me, and also her grandmother. It's a family thing. She told me.
Yeah, so shrink the forehead, clean that side,
Right.
and let
Yeah,
me know
yeah,
where
yeah,
it goes with
yes.
that. Yeah,
Thank you.
perfect.
Thank you. Thank you, Greg. Thank you. Can I ask you another question?
Yes, yes, all you like.
Thank you. Unfortunately, last Sunday, my wife's father left the body, passed
Okay.
away, and it was a suddenly thing. It happens in a way that we doesn't expect, and for the shock. I use and I give to my wife tarragon, as you
Yeah,
advised
yep,
sometimes.
yep.
But I wonder if there is some other oils that I can give her, because sometimes she told me it seems not real. Why does she know it's real that his father is gone? But it's like a kind of dissociation. I don't know what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, you're totally right. Yeah, so how long ago did this happen?
3 days ago.
Oh boy, yeah. Okay, so tarragon, benzoin could be used in this, even rose. But the thing too is like when she starts kind of grieving, like I think you're right on the right money, like with the tarragon, or the benzoin or the rose. I do that for a little bit because even that surreal thing is like a bit of shock. And
Yeah.
so the tarragon should help. But like when the grieving starting to kind of like set in a little bit more, ginger lily would be really super helpful. If you don't have that, rose can be helpful. You
Yeah.
know, there's that blend sadness and grief, but the ginger lily I think works just as good as the sadness and grief. And so if you have that, just have her inhale the ginger lily, and it will really help process through like the sad feelings and things that come up. Won't help the shock so much. So like what you're doing right now is perfect. Like I would keep doing that. Even with that, you can keep shrinking the Ming Men.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know some of that is just like time as well, like a little bit of time
Yeah.
to let it settle in. But so sorry to hear that.
So-
If you'll put the name in the chat, we'll do a bardo for her
Oh,
dad.
well, great.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, I'll do it tonight. I'll be glad to do it tonight for you.
Oh, yeah. I really appreciate this. And thank you for the opportunity to ask you
Yeah,
directly questions.
anything you ever need, Ollie.
Sorry?
Anything you need, you just let us know. We love
Thank
having
you.
you on.
Thank you. Thank you. I love to be in your class, and I'm looking forward to for the next 2 weekend.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
And then go ahead, Jennifer, then Chris.
Hey, Jennifer.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. Doing fantastic over here. With Aiden, of course, is what I'm referring
Yeah,
to.
let's hear a little bit of an update. How's Aiden doing?
He's doing really well. He's been taking the frankincense and myrrh, like you said, 8 to 9 drops consistently. The cistus, he says he's taking 2 drops 3 times a day.
Great.
And then the German chamomile, he's doing 3 drops once a day, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off.
Perfect.
So what's been happening is all of that in combination with just the energy work and the chiropractor and the craniosacral, his spine, I can tell it's shifting, and I can tell he's moving into better alignment, and
Oh, good.
the scoliosis is starting to shift out.
Mhm.
He's also going through, like, every time we work on him, every time he'll go through like a somato-emotional release,
Mhm.
and then he'll have a reaction where he just is getting rid of grief, but he's actually reacting to something that's happened. Like, he does it. The funny thing is he does like a lot of like buying and selling online, and
Uh-huh.
something will happen and won't go his way, and he'll just have like this response to it. And so I'll catch it later and I'll go, oh yeah, that's what that was about. You're just overreacting to some unresolved things. And so as I'm watching this, things are starting to come into alignment. The thing that I have questions about is, one, I just want to do a check-in to make sure we're still like, if there's anything else we should be doing. Two is we haven't gotten any of his blood work tested yet. We're supposed to do this like in a couple of weeks. His testosterone remains low
Okay.
right now, only because one, we haven't tested it yet. We will be testing it, but I can just tell, like, because he's going through so much release work, he'll have like really good days, and then he'll have like days where it's just not going as well, and he's thinking like all is lost. I think it's part of what's stored in his body.
Yeah, with everything going on with the hormonal things and then the scoliosis, like there's going to be trauma just like trapped in the body. I mean, that's pretty normal. It does produce an emotional and mental response, but a lot of times the trauma really is more probably physiological than it is psychological, but it will still be experienced through the psyche, you know, because it's just different parts of the spectrum. And so, yeah, like you can use like the German chamomile should help some of that, but like if there's really like stronger like traumas that come out, helichrysum is always a good one to use, but even the frankincense and myrrh should be diminishing that somewhat. You know, the tendency is like, you know, there's different ways of looking at like the idea of like him with his reactions or getting triggered. And you know, on one level you would look at it and go, okay, it could be a little bit of dissociation, so you want to open up the arms and legs and get energy moving there, so you do that with like mugwort applied to the arms and legs. But in his particular case, it's probably more fatigue than it is like lack of movement through the body, like lack of energy movement. And so with that, you know, the frankincense and myrrh is a bit fortifying. We've got, let's see, he's on German chamomile, he's on cistus. These reactions, how long have they been going on?
They've just been a part of this whole process of us.
So longer than say 6 weeks? Like it's been going on for like 3 or 4 months ago, or has it just been more of a recent thing?
Well, to be honest with you, we started I think it's 4 weeks. So I think we started becoming more aggressive with it the last month. And so it's been more pronounced.
Okay. So like we could, let's like talk this out just real quick and so we could kind of problem solve it a little bit. So there's the aspect of that like pain or the issues in the body or, you know, just difficulties with situations in the environment will produce lower emotions. And if the certain parts of the nervous system or if the arms and legs are very congested or have poor circulation, the tendency is to not have those lower emotions turn into higher emotions. I don't think that's the issue with him, but I mean, I'm just laying it out there as like, you know, maybe we can't resolve it. That's a thing. And then the second thing would be fatigue. And like, if that's the case, given everything that he's going through and that the hormones were imbalanced for the length of time, that's the one that I would lean to. But I mean, still, you never know. But with that, you would do things that are something you can take for a long period of time and are fortifying, but not too overstimulating. you know, like time-linolol, time-thuyonol, time-geranol. All of those are solid ways to increase energy levels. You know, like if it's the spleen's really depleted, you know, you could use things like jasmine or even angelica, but I would probably do the times. But like, this is why I was saying, like, we want to talk this out a little bit. So here's the thing that, so we have him using Cistus, right?
Uh-huh.
And part of what happens sometimes with Cistus is it really can help you access like the inner world. And so sometimes it will have you tap into something that's like something you're needing to resolve.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it makes me wonder if like that's about the length of time that I think we've had him on the Cistus, right? Like about 4 weeks or so. Like
Yeah.
that was like a new thing.
Yeah.
It could be the Cistus is, you know,
But it's a good thing.
yeah, I think it's a good thing, but
I
like,
think
you
it's
know, if it's a
connected to
little
its spine.
much for the person,
Mhm.
you know, like I have this friend who's a medical aromatherapist, and he's like, yeah, I took a Cistus bath, had very disturbing dreams for a couple of days. I won't be doing that again for a while, you know, but he also is a guy that doesn't really want to address those kinds of things, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so I would say it's a good thing, but that potentially could be a thing that's happening.
He
That's why
does.
I
Yeah.
use Cistus all the time, is for that same reason. But like if it starts to get a little too much, you
Mhm.
could have him back off. But you can just also do something that would help clean up some of those things. And for him, cleaning up might just be actually like helping to just calm something down, like vetiver, spikenard, um,
Mhm.
even kava kava, you know, something just like calm and soothe his nerves a little bit.
So we've been, I have him putting marjoram on his feet before he goes to bed.
Yeah, even that would probably do it.
And that's been helping. Like we just started
Yeah,
doing.
because the marjoram's going to help. I mean, marjoram's really amazing. It transmutes things that are stuck in the body. It activates the heart. It
Mhm.
helps with changes of perception. It helps with grieving. It helps one to like better project oneself like externally. So, you know, you could say like it's helpful for like expression and things like that. Maybe not like verbally, but just like in action and being artistic and things like this. And so and it's very soothing. It's very calming. It pulls you out of fight flight. And
Mhm.
so that actually could be pretty solid. Like if you have all of that in place, I don't know that I would even really change anything other than if he gets too overwhelmed, I might back off the Cistus just for a little tiny bit. But if he's okay with it and aware of it, I'd push through because, you know, like you said, you're kind of breaking down some tendencies or a particular reaction or behavior or something that, you know, you address it, and then it makes the future a little bit brighter.
So all of that, it totally aligns. He wants this so much. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't want to go off to Denver with any of this happening. And I was telling him, I'm like, you might have to continue doing some of this stuff, but I was like, it's part of what you're supposed to be doing. For some reason,
Yeah.
you're supposed to be doing this in
I
this
mean,
life.
I do the frankincense and myrrh every day. Like, I mean, I probably don't do it every day of the week, but I do it 4 or 5 days out of the week. I can tell when I've been doing it when I haven't, and I don't have his issues. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like having the issues that he has. I mean, it's going to get things up and going and maintaining it. And there may come a time where he might not need to do it, but it's going to be a little while before he gets there. The other thing, as far as the testosterone levels,
Yeah.
there are ways that we can raise that. It would be augmenting something with the the frankincense and myrrh, but there's a few substances that we can use, and one of them is they harvest deer antler, and there's different grades of deer antler, and then they do like a alcohol extraction of it. And I'll get you a link to the place where, a lot of the deer antler is not super strong, but it basically has testosterone in the antler is why
Okay.
they do it. And it's the Chinese medicine way of treating low testosterone, and the really potent stuff is actually pretty good. Like I would say it doesn't really rival the medications, but the issue with a medication where you're doing synthetic testosterone is after a period of time, after significant amount of exposures, the body will stop producing the testosterone because the hormone's being given.
Yeah.
And the deer antler doesn't really seem to be doing that. Like it's elevating it, but not so strong where it shuts that off in the body. And so there is pharmaceutical, boy, this is going back, but I want to say it's called Clomid. And it's to turn on the production of testosterone in the body. They use it a lot of times when somebody has been using a steroid for a long period of time, like some of the anabolic steroids will turn off the production of testosterone. And so Clomid is used to like jumpstart the glands specific for testosterone. And so it could be that he goes on that medication, but we could probably do it with the deer antler. And so I'll when the time comes, I would say, let's wait to see like what happens when he gets tested so that we know where it's at. And I'll provide you with the link and you can just go there. But like a 2-ounce bottle it's a little bit pricey. Like the really good stuff, it's probably a couple $100. But like I want to say it's like 180 or something. But I think I bought a bottle like 2 years ago and I use it for a little tiny bit and then I'm good for a while. Like I have milked that bottle and it's probably only halfway gone for a good 2 years. Might even be 3. So it's not something you're going to have to be buying like every 2 months is I guess what I'm saying. Like you'll use it a little bit and then you'll let it rest and then you'll use it a little bit and he can just gauge it himself.
Yeah, he's been tired. And so everything
that could be the testosterone too.
And
like
I
could just
really
be
think so
fatigue, but
too.
yeah.
And I think what our plan is, because we've been having such a hard time with the medical facility, like we couldn't get a hold of growth hormone and they wanted us to go and do all those other things to try and get it in different ways. But every time we would do it, we could never get it. So we just went off of it, thankfully, and we just started doing the oils and they seem to be working. He grew a 1/2 inch. His spine is starting to straighten out. Things are shifting emotionally and see it happen in him. Like he's getting stronger, but then he's getting exhausted because he doesn't have the testosterone, which is what I'm thinking.
I mean, if you want to start the testosterone now, like I'll look it up and we'll send you the link of where I get it. And you would start with just like a dropper full a day for every day for like a couple weeks and then see where he's at.
I just don't know. Part of me is we were gonna get his blood.
I would wait personally. I would wait till you get tested. Like that's where
that's what I was thinking. Yeah,
but I also get feeling crappy and getting frustrated with it. Like I also get that too. Like you know what I mean. And so if he wants to start before then, ideally I would wait till you get tested so you know the numbers and you know how well the treatment is after the fact. Like you go, you get your number, you start treating it with the deer antler, and then you go back. Because the thing with testosterone is even like say you go in the middle of the day that's really not the most even accurate test for that. Like, you really want to kind of do it right off the bat in the morning before you really get up and going, before you're eating a lot of food, before, you want to do it just right off the bat. That's when you're going to get the most accurate reading. But most people don't test it like that. They'll just test it at some point in the day, and it gets you in the ballpark, but it's not always exact. And
Okay.
so there are some other herbs that would work, but there's this one herb called Yohimbe, and it does elevate testosterone, but the flip side of it is it's a pretty nasty stimulant. Like it could elevate heart rate quite easily. And I've known, like in the past, like this was back in the 80s, of athletes that were taking big dosages of it, and they ended up having heart attacks. It would not be a dosage that he would take, but I'm
Right.
just always a little leery about that, because it could cause like sleep issues. It could cause behavioral or like mood oriented issues, because it's such a strong stimulant. I always found that the guys that were using the Yohimbe in the athletic circles were a little aggressive, like, because
Yeah.
you had testosterone combined with a stimulant. It just made them like a-holes. You know what I mean? They were just not pleasant to be around. And I mean, it's very similar to like when they were on steroids. And the deer antler is a way to elevate it, and it doesn't have any of those other stimulant properties to it. It's just really soft and gentle, and it's none of those kinds of side effects. And so I usually don't go to any of those other things other than deer antler for the testosterone related issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Yohimbe is by far cheaper, but you would use it like when, like, for example, in I had a veterinarian tell me that it's what they use to bring animals out of anesthesia. Like it's such a stimulant that's what it does. It just stimulates all the body's processes. But even that, he said, you have to be careful, because if you give them too much, you could put them into cardiac arrest. And so,
okay.
I would stay away from, like, if he starts searching for things, don't let him take that one.
No, he's totally listening and doing everything that
Okay.
we're talking about. Like, and that's not even something I would even bring up to him.
Okay. Perfect.
Just because it just doesn't feel right to me. Like
Yeah.
the deer
he-
antlers definitely feel right, but
Yeah.
what we're gonna get tested in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, perfect.
But we're going through a different program of getting tested. Just where we were at, they're just not aligning with helping us in a way that Aiden wants to get helped. And
Right.
so we're gonna get tested through another way, and which is more conducive to our goals. Like, we have everyone in alignment with everyone's in alignment, that they're all on the same page, that they believe and they know that Aiden will eventually straighten out his spine, and that this is something that he holds in his body energetically. He's just come across as that kid who does this, and then it's affected all of his hormones. And so as we're working through this, we're watching the progress happening, and now it's just a matter of making sure that we're getting the right testing done for his blood work to know accurately where he is, so that we can continue to go with what you're suggesting to help him too, get to the next phase. So that's our plan. I just wanted to make sure.
When is Denver?
It's in the fall. That's when,
okay.
and we've been starting to be, in February, we started getting more aggressive with the chiropractic work and the massage, and knowing with everything we were already doing with the cistus and the chamomile frankincense and myrrh, and I can tell it's making a big difference. He's just so focused on the testosterone. And I'm like, okay, I'll come on, I'll ask, I'll see if there's anything we're missing.
I
And,
would say
know.
let's then get tested, and then in 2 weeks we can start increasing the testosterone. I mean, you can always go on a medication for that, but I always like to kind of try it naturally first before you go to the synthetics. And even the synthetic, you could go on it for a little bit and then back off of it, just like bump the numbers up. And as soon as they're up, kind of withdraw from it.
Uh-huh.
You know, that's always an option, just to get things up and going, but you could probably do it with the deer antler.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And we'll be seeing you in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So, all right. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Good to
Okay.
talk.
You too. Okay, take care.
Glad he's doing so well.
And then go ahead, Chris, then Kimberly.
Thanks, Sam. Hey, Greg.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. Thank you so much for helping me out with that mammoth cord.
Oh yeah.
Came
How
in the
did
middle
that
of the
do?
night.
Yeah.
Yeah. In relation to that, would it be helpful to use I mean, you don't have it yet, I don't think, in the site, a rue incense, like before I sleep, because that came on like at 2 a.m. and I was like a
Yeah,
cord murderer
that
with
could
my
be a good thing to
disintegrator.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be a thing. You could use the rue incense. Yeah, I can make that for you. I
Oh,
can
thank you
make
so
it in the
much.
morning. It'll take like a day for it to dry, so we could probably ship by Thursday.
Yeah, because I first of all, it's a shocker because it's a good friend of mine that I
So
work.
you know when we were going back and forth with this, you know, not that
Yeah.
we have to go into a lot of detail, it might
Yeah.
not be conscious.
Yes, because
You know
the
what I mean?
timing too,
So
that's what I thought.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I wouldn't hold it against the person at all. I
No,
would just
no.
say probably not conscious. It seemed more competitive than anything.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of times people aren't consciously aware of it. And
Yes.
so I wouldn't hold it against the person, but if it gets like weird with the person, you kind of know why, and you can just either step back or start doing things to like calm it down. And so when there's a weird bouncing back and forth between, you know, two people, hiss up is
Uh-huh.
always a good thing to do because it calms that back and forth down, and it diminishes the tendency for you to absorb negativity from an environment or from another person. You know, here that was a pretty substantial cord. It was pretty
It
good
was,
size.
yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty good
Mhm.
sized, and it felt really dirty.
And it
And
came
so
on during the day at first, and we were about to walk the dogs, and I asked Chris, I said, something gripped my heart from the back. I said, can you help me cut this cord, you know? So he was
Mhm.
cutting it. Then the next night it came on like at 2 a.m. It
Yeah.
was like a crazy lady with my disintegrator cutting
right.
it. I didn't even know
Yeah.
for sure that it was a cord because that
So
was before we
yeah,
talked.
and so
Yeah.
the other thing to do, like from time to time, is that person just like you know how like you do with the whiteboard technique, you would paint a situation or a person blue before you would like disintegrate with electric violet.
Right.
Do that with dark blue, and then just don't do the disintegration part, like just several minutes of blue, and it minimizes the projection from them towards you.
I'm sorry, Greg, you froze on my end. You said blue,
Yeah, paint the person dark blue, and it
dark blue.
prevents the projections from them towards you.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I would do.
Thank you. I know that they're going through a lot of stress,
Yeah.
so it's probably like, you know, as we
It's not a
suspect,
reflection.
unconscious.
Yeah, it's not a reflection on your guys' relationship at all. It's
Mhm.
just for whatever reason you push a button or you trigger her a little bit.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when it happens, you know, I just like
Yeah, it
step
happens
back
all the
because
time.
she's dear to me.
Yeah.
And anyway, so thank you so much for that. And second
Mhm.
question is that person, that a client of mine that we talked about that had a very significant release, emotionally and physically during the last session. I'm going to see her this weekend, and I was wondering if, and we talked about doing a soothing
Yes.
session
It was, she
following
released
it.
a bunch of trauma, right?
Right.
Yeah.
In terms of oil and protocol, do you mind giving me a list so that I can just like,
So soothing could be something like tarragon or marjoram, but one of the things that I like to do with like soothing, because you're trying, like the person has like shifted and you're wanting her to like be able to, or whoever, to like hold that space of the transition, the transition from where they were before to now. And tuberose works really well for that. If
Okay.
you don't have tuberose, something like even like aloes or poplar or something like that,
Mhm,
something a little heady, but
mhm.
um, it's not going to cause like some big dramatic shift.
Okay.
And so tarragon or benzoin, marjoram, even rose in that genre, but then the tuberose or the ginger lily or osmanthus, aloes, something like that, just to help her maintain that new space. Because that's the thing, is sometimes you make the shift, but the new space is a little uncomfortable. So you're like, let me go back. You know what I mean? You
Right.
want her to be able to like linger in this new spot, this new phase. Yeah. And then energetically, things that are anti-inflammatory, like, so a lot of green, blue, violet, like get green, blue, violet into the solar plexus, into the throat, into the ajna, and some of the organs, into the arms and legs, stuff like that. Green and violet into the back heart, just things that are very soothing.
Oh, sorry, Greg, I was muting. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Mhm. Yeah, and then if something comes up, let me know and I'll be glad to talk you through it.
Thank you. I think, like we discussed, she still has a lot of trauma that's stuck
Yeah,
there, but
yeah,
kind of on and off, like
yeah.
go at it and then soothe and then go
Yeah,
at it.
like have a release and then let it stabilize. Like think of it as like meditation. You expand and then you kind of come back into your body and you stabilize it. And then after a little bit of time, you're like, I can do that again. And then she can expand. And the thing too is if you do that, like that kind of cycle a couple of times, when she goes to that place to access the trauma and release the trauma, if she's had the experience of like, okay, after I release this, then I don't feel like I'm in chaos. I come back to this place that's like stable and soothing and normalizing. It makes it easier to go to that place of releasing the trauma later. Like, so after a
Mhm.
couple of cycles, you'll probably find that you'll even go deeper into the releases because you've established a pattern. Like, okay, after you release, you come back to this nice, soothing, stable place and you get your feet under you. And I kind of was always of the mindset when I was doing sessions all the time that with that, I'm not the one that dictates the pace, like the person dictates the pace. So if
Oh, you're
it's,
absolutely right. She comes
yeah,
in like, I'm ready to let this go.
yeah, like she'll tell you when she's ready and she'll tell
Yeah.
you when like, I need a little break. Like I just need a little. And so, I would get to where I would even ask some of my clients, like, okay, we going deep or we are doing maintenance or, maintaining everything. And, after you've had the talk with them a couple of times, they know like, I just need balance and soothing. Like, and so that's what I would do. And then there'd be times where they're like, let's rip that thing out. Let's stick a dynamite in there and just blow it out of me. And
Yeah.
so, when they're ready for that, then let's go.
Yes. Thank you so much. And she
Yes.
shared recently that her production at work was really good and her trainers are noticing her improvement. So it's also affecting her prosperity.
Oh, tremendous.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing. Like a lot of times, if you diminish like stress and trauma in somebody in the workplace, their performance almost always goes up. Almost
Yeah.
always.
It's amazing. Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Greg.
It shows you how much stress and trauma really affect our mental processes and our production and our ability to focus and get things done. Going back to me, when I had such a hard time, I was like super stressed out. I was, you know, living with a bunch of trauma that I didn't know how to process or let go, and couldn't get a thing done. Not a thing,
Absolutely.
you know? Yeah.
I speak from experience too.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Good.
And then go ahead, Kimberly, then Sonia.
Hey, Kimberly.
Hi.
Hey.
I have a very dear friend who
Mm.
called me and she, in a week, she'll be going to have tests. But she's lost like 40 pounds and she is having trouble. She just can't eat. She feels it doesn't feel right when she eats or drinks. So I wondered if there was any oil I could send her that could help her.
So
She
do
finds out
we
more.
know what's like? Does she have a history of something, or is this just something that's come on? And
Yeah, and they don't know. And so they're gonna do tests and like, serious tests in like a week and a half. And I didn't know if there was just something I could send her.
is she excessively thirsty or anything like that?
No. She's a real introvert. So when she called me to tell me this, she doesn't give you a lot of information, but I know her. So for her to call me and tell me, she's upset. And I don't know, anything, maybe even just something to help calm her to get through this until she finds out what it is.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things that I would say about this, and any time that a person's having a hard time like eating or stomach's upset, I mean, you could start looking at the nervous system of the rest and repair, also known as the parasympathetic part of the nervous system. That can be out of whack. It can affect your appetite, nausea, even can cause like, bowel issues, like going to the bathroom and things like that. And so, anytime with something like that, we look at like what we'd call a stress plague digestive tract. And the stress is usually more physical, not necessarily psychological, but it's just like things not working right. And it could be a shift in the nervous system. And so with something like that, I would use like anise or tarragon or rosemary verbenin. Now for general, like overall, like toning and stimulating properties for the whole digestive system, ginger can always be a good one. It's also anti-inflammatory. It would also help address like loss of appetite, things like that nature. And so that one could be a potential as well. The tarragon would be super soothing and relaxing. Both of these you would need to take internal. Like, if she inhaled it, it would help. But if she took a few drops internally, it would help. The thing that I'm like, as I'm talking this out, I keep looking at her. I would really want to try to balance out the autonomic nervous system, which is sympathetic, which is fight, flight, and then parasympathetic, which is rest and repair. I suspect that she has an imbalance there. and it would make sense with the introverted component. It would make sense with the digestive component. You know, it adds up and makes a lot of sense. And so lemongrass can be very good, be it either inhaled or a few drops taken internally. And as I'm talking all this out with you, I think that would be my first choice. You know,
Okay,
it's inexpensive. It's something she could inhale as much as she wanted. She could take a couple drops of it internally. It would help, like taking it internally, it would help balance out the nervous system, which would start helping to move lymphatic function or lymph through the body. I suspect part of the issue in the gut, you know, she might have a health issue, but it could be that the gut is just toxic. You know, it's a
Okay.
very common thing these days, very, very common.
okay,
And it's just like the lymph just stagnates in the gut and the gut just gets toxic and you start, you know, losing appetite and things don't work as well and things start hurting. And, you know, it's just this weird downward spiral. You get food sensitivities and food allergies and certain parts of the gut will start hurting and cramping. And it's just, so I would probably start off with that. And the other thing with lemongrass, it's very soothing. It's very relaxing.
okay,
And so I think it kind of hits a lot of things for you on your concern list. And,
Yeah.
you know, buys her some time for her to be able to go see the doctor.
right,
you know?
right. And,
Yeah.
you know, and for me, I just wanna, you know, show her that I care, you know.
Sure.
And that I know she would like something like this, an oil,
Mhm.
so, okay. And then for me, bladder issues, do you have one that works with that?
So like overactivated bladder or
Yes,
not being able to urinate enough?
yes, overactive.
Overactivated. Yeah, oil wise, there's not a lot of great choices there, but let me look up. I do remember something. Yeah.
A stumper, huh?
Well, it's with oils, it's kind of a hard, I mean, there's really not a great herbal thing to do
Mm,
with
okay,
that, but let me just look this up a little bit. You know, I used to treat this more with doing energy work than
well, diet works, but, it's just, you have to give up everything.
yeah. Hmm. The one that I would maybe try on this and again, I'm not even sure, but this is what I would probably try, is cypress. Cypress would be my choice.
Okay.
And cypress is really good for, it helps to detoxify. It strengthens some of the glands and things that can be weakened, including the pancreas. But the other thing is, it has a little bit of an antispasmodic property to it, and like astringent type qualities to it.
Mm,
And we used to, like back in the old days, we'd say like, anything where the body is like losing like water or fluid, or even like running off at the mouth, like when somebody has loose lips and they're saying things that they shouldn't say, like, okay, don't talk about the white elephant in the room, and then the person walks in and goes, hey, what about that white elephant in the room? Like, things that you're not supposed to like basically let go or release. Cypress was always kind of the thing that you would use to try to remedy that. And I have used chamomiles and things before for the frequent urination. Sometimes it can be adrenal issue, sometimes it's a kidney issue, sometimes it's just the nerve gets agitated, gets a little overstimulated, but that there's the urge there, and you don't always have a lot to empty out of the bladder, or maybe the bladder doesn't always like completely release, but if you're able to retain it for longer, then when you release, like more comes out. So I would try cypress. I would do like 2 or 3 drops of cypress in a day. And you've had this a while, right? We know that it's not an infection or anything like that. It's just you have frequent urination, which is actually quite common these days. But
yeah.
okay, so I would try the cypress. Like
Okay.
that's what I would do. 2 or 3 drops in water, like 2 to 3 times a day.
Okay. And then sleep. My friend told me that it's kind of individual on what you recommend for sleep.
Mhm. Is this for you or for somebody else?
For me,
Do you have tarragon?
nope,
Do you have marjoram?
nope. I'm new, so I'm,
Okay, gotcha. Okay, gotcha. So I would probably do tarragon. Tarragon's going to be good for a lot of different things, and so it would be a good one to have just as a, like I refer to them as like bread and butter oils, where you're
Mhm.
going to use it for a lot of different things.
okay,
Good for calming and soothing the emotional body, good for a lot of digestive issues, reducing stress levels, uh, good antispasmodic, so if there's cramping or something.
okay,
And part of what it does is it helps you, especially in the early stages of falling asleep. It can actually be very beneficial of that. And the reason is that it does help to tone the vagus nerve, which is tied to your rest and repair mode. And so like sometimes the difficulty falling asleep is just like that part of the nervous system has lost tone. And so it
Mhm.
just can't function like it should. And so this helps by increasing the tone over a period of time and allows you to go into a deeper place of sleep and rest.
okay, thank
And
you,
it's very soothing to the emotional body. Very, very soothing.
okay.
Like I'll do a meditation sometimes, and then I'll put some on my feet. And meditation is very soothing. You're being quiet and peaceful. Oh, like, oh, that feels so good. It's just even after meditation, it can be even more soothing. If you could imagine.
Okay, thank you. Do you have a Native American background? This is a personal question.
I do, yeah,
Yes, I could tell.
yeah. I used to travel with a medicine man.
Yes, I could,
Yeah.
well, I mean, but in your family line, do you?
Oh, there was Native American blood in and out of the family, depending on what part, and I was always told that I did. but when I got my genetics done, I am a white guy. I
Oh.
am a Scandinavian white guy.
Okay, because there's all kinds of Native American that I'm seeing when I talk to
Yeah.
you, so.
I very much like the indigenous cultures. So yeah, I used to travel with a medicine man from South Dakota for a while.
Ah, okay,
And
thank
yeah,
you very much.
you're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Sonia, then Denise.
Hey, Miss Sonia, how are you?
You know, my mom's got, she's 76 and she's got dementia, but it's possible that she also has lead and mercury toxicity, and she's got hallucinations.
Mm,
It's people and family and bugs, and she's had them since 2016. And finally, when I got control of the situation, then
mhm.
the neurologist who did heavy metal testing was gone from the area. So I've been trying to find someone else who would be good with it. But like, I am wondering what might be helpful.
And helpful in what part?
Dementia
dementia?
and heavy metal toxicity and hallucinations.
Yeah. So any time like with hallucinations and things, I always go, this sounds weird, but I always go to the kidneys. And a lot of times by going through and treating the kidneys, the tendency is for the hallucinations and things to diminish. And you know, kidneys have to do with like mineral balance. They, you know, they have a lot of functions, but they also are tied for energy moving up to the head and things of this nature. So it could even actually overlap with even some of the dementia and the brain fatigue and things of that nature. So in this particular case, I would probably use myrrh to strengthen the kidneys, and you could rub it just directly over the kidneys or give it to her internally. And that would very much help kidney function in this particular case. You know, other situations, other people, I might use something different, but for her, I would say myrrh. And then the dementia. Dementia can be tough. She's had it for, it sounds like, quite a while. I mean, I would probably go to sages right off the bat, just, you know, your general sage, Spanish sage, Dalmatian sage, and either diffuse it around her quite a bit or, you know, put it in a body tonic and rub it on her back and torso or legs or just wherever you can get it on her body. That will do a lot of things for fortifying her body, some of the body's processes, but more importantly, it's a neuroprotective for the nerves, and it is one of the best things for brain fatigue. And so I like that component for that. Now, when it comes to like if there is potentials for heavy metal toxicity and things like that, coriander is one of the oils that you can use to help pull heavy metals and you know, related toxins out of the body. I usually increase water intake with that, and I usually give them some form of a diuretic just so that when things come up, they pee it out and, you know, pass it out as quickly as possible. But the coriander does help to pull things out of the tissues.
Okay. Liposomal vitamin C will help pull out toxins as
Yeah.
well.
Yes, C would do it as well. You know, there's all kinds of chelation formulas that do stuff like that. Like, I know you're super aware of them. I mean, you could use that as well, you know, in any form of that. But I would really focus on kidneys and the brain fatigue as well.
Yeah, she's got third stage kidney failure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, um, like, I still don't have the hearing in my left ear. And does it still seem like it's just inflammation?
Oh, you got stuck in the ear by, yeah, I remember that now.
A twig hit
Yeah.
in
Um,
my ear.
it looks super inflamed. Yeah. Keep doing it, keep sweeping it, keep putting blue on it. Keep using things that are anti-inflammatory. Yeah. It looks, I mean, it looks less inflamed than the last time I looked at it, but it's still pretty inflamed.
Okay.
Boy, how did you do that? Like, I'm just curious.
I came out of the house onto the porch and there was a whole bunch of tumbleweeds from the wind, and I was moving them away. And when I stood up and turned left, there was a branch, and
Just caught you.
it's like a small twiggy branch, and the twigs, it's hard to see them separate from the other surrounding because it's the same color. It's just hard to see, and it just hit me in the ear.
And doctor said that you didn't injure the eardrum.
He said it didn't look like I had damaged the eardrum, but if it's swelled, it's kind of hard to see. That I have a TMJ that would overstretch that area and it would perforate. And I kept telling the DO, I said, no, you're pushing it the wrong direction because it's increasing the stretch and the perforation. So finally he started going the other direction. But, I think that eardrum has some problems anyway as a result.
Okay. TMJ. I mean, I'd even try gargling with a little bit of marjoram. Put like 4 or 5 drops of some water or drops of marjoram in the water, and then just really gargle with it. Or even put a few drops on your finger and get back and just kind of on those deep muscles for the jaw, like get in there and just rub some of that on there. That can feel actually quite good for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then go ahead, Denise, then Troy.
Hey, Denise.
Hi, good. Thank you for taking my call. I wanted to place an order, all right? And I just wanted to see if I'm on the right track. Regarding my son, for me at this point, because it was 6 months recently. So sadness and grief, or do you like that ginger lily for me?
I mean, my kind of go-to thing for sadness and grief is ginger lily. When I made the sadness and grief, I was trying to make like a cheaper way to do it, but the formula got a little bit more pricey because I kept adding like fancier oils to it. They both do it. But a lot of times, like when we have somebody who's just passed or something and we want to get something to a family member, I almost always give them ginger lily. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's so good. It's like it balances out the brain. It's really super soothing. It really helps you to process through the sadness and grief. And the blend does too. But there's just something a little extra special about that ginger lily,
Okay. Well, I have a neighbor too that just recently had 3 pretty close losses, so I could share some with her. Okay. If I get the ginger lily. Okay. And then for my son, okay, I can do really basic chakra cleaning, really basic, which is probably good. I don't know more than that. All right. Because I think I wouldn't want to do too much for him in that respect, just because he's already got a lot of stimulations that I wouldn't probably want to. I don't really have the expertise to deal with. So if I did the basic, what I wanted to know, with him, would I start with the feet or with the crown?
Honestly, for him, you know what I
Yeah.
would do is I would spend a lot of time working on the kidneys.
On his
Like,
kidneys?
I wouldn't even spend time on the chakras. I would go and I would spend whatever time you have, I would just work, clean and energize those kidneys. And if you're, do you do things with colored pranas or just with like white, or what are you doing?
Well, with him, just because I don't know, not a whole lot, I probably would like use a luminescent white with maybe a little bit of green around it or whatever I intuitively picked up.
so-
So what do you
so-
recommend?
So you've had the advanced class in that modality?
No,
Okay. What I have used in the past with situations like this is I clean it substantially, the kidneys, and then I energize with greenish violet, or excuse me, greenish yellow, then greenish violet. Was it?
no,
Oh,
I was greenish yellow or greenish violet,
No,
right?
you do greenish yellow first, then greenish violet.
Okay,
And then re-sweep again. But you know, if you haven't had the class, just go even in the book and look at the book
okay.
about the combination of colored pranas, and you could probably figure that out, like how to do that.
I think it was always the white luminescence really quiets things down, doesn't it, a little bit, or am I wrong?
Yeah, it's a good solid, like it kind of has all the different colors. So you can just kind of, if you're going to do that, just clean it, energize it, clean it, energize it, eventually end it with the energizing, but keep going back and forth.
Oh, okay, no, that's really valuable. Anything on his feet too, or just,
Yeah, you could always do the feet, like the knees, the ankles, the soles of the feet, but a lot of it on the kidneys.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
This is great, thank you. And then the friend I talked to you about that she's been 10 years sober, but it was alcohol. I'm ready to order. Should I go with the Spanish sage, the very first one out? And then have her put it into like a lotion, or should I do the tonic with you guys, do a Spanish sage tonic for her to use?
Remind me, what are we using this for?
It was my friend that's has some, she was an alcoholic, but she's been sober for 10 years, but she has quite a bit of deep depression still, you know?
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, let's do body tonic.
Okay, good.
You could do Spanish sage. Actually, let's, like, if we're gonna do it, it's probably about the same. The Dalmatian sage. Is that about the sage? Yeah, we'll do a Dalmatian sage. I think it will target that a little bit better.
Okay, I'll order some ginger lily, Dalmatian sage, and maybe something from that class from last weekend. And are you guys on the road? You know,
No, we're home. Yeah, we're home.
Okay, very good. I'll get that done. Thank you very much. I
You're so
appreciate
welcome.
it. Thank you.
And then go ahead, Troy, then Sheena.
Hey, Mr. Joy.
Hey y'all. I was just kind of checking back in. Having just a lot of, just feeling kind of on the struggle bus and just feeling
Would you say the struggle bus?
yeah.
I love that term. That's going to be my new term these days, the struggle bus. Okay, so give me a rundown. Like, I know the joints were a little bit achy and there was a little bit of emotions bubbling up. I can't remember.
So I talked to you maybe last week or the week before during Q&A about just feeling like real sore and achy,
Right.
kind of all over. At first I was thinking it was just joints, and then because you asked it, I later realized I think it's kind of a lot in the soft tissues too.
Okay.
I have been busy at work, and I move crates and fine art and stuff for a living. So
Yeah, but
I
you're a
have
young
some
guy.
reason.
Yeah, you're a young guy. You're used to moving that stuff around. You know what I mean? Like, it shouldn't be aggravating too much. And allergies are kind of calmed down.
Allergies
So
seem chill.
achiness, and if I remember right, it's like some of your your like injury spots or your compromised spots were really lit up more than even some of the other spots, yeah?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
And has there been any increase like in meditation or, you know, anything like that where there's going to be some energy congestion or anything like that?
Yes.
So like this is what I think that we could kind of move forward. And I think this hits it on a lot of different things. You know, so the reason that I asked the meditation thing is like, you know, we're looking at this from a bunch of different ways and you're still having some of it. But, you know, when I go through and I do like really deep meditation or, you know, I have that bone apron that I put on or something from time to time and, you know, which is supercharged and it hits all my sore spots, you know, like all my old compromise. And it's just because of the congestion and it takes me a little while to shake it off. And one of the things that I think could be helpful is even just doing like the Lovage body tonic or orange healer body tonic or salt baths and orange healer, because orange healer is kind of similar to the Lovage body tonic, where it's very purifying to the body tissues. It moves lymph, it detoxifies joints, and it reduces that etheric congestion. And it's making me wonder if not that like so much is moving that sometimes it just gets stuck, you know, and that could be a thing. And if you're doing more meditation than normal, or, you know, doing something where there's a lot of energy, where it's intensified, that's always a potential. And so I would do things that are decongesting and supportive of like detoxifying the body tissues. So Lovage, orange healer. I mean, there's times where I've even done like cedar in that vein, or like coffee baths. Coffee baths could be good. So I would say let's have you do some form of that.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe like, you know, just whatever you have. Like if you have some orange healer, throw it in a bath. Like or make a little tonic and rub it on your body and like try it for like a day or two and then see if it's moving in the right direction. And then within like 2 days, if it's not moving in the right direction, email us and let me know, and then we'll put something else in place. But you should start feeling relief like relatively quickly.
Okay.
Yeah. Even if you don't have any of those, Palo Santo, just something with a lot of orange.
Okay.
Yeah. Orange prana is very good for stimulating lymphatic movement. You know, and so you're wanting to detoxify, you're wanting that to move and breaking down some of that congestion. Yeah, it hits all those.
Right. So orange is my new black.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. But let us know in a couple of days.
Okay. We'll do.
Let us know one way or another. If it's good or bad, just let us know.
Okay. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Sheena, and then we have some questions.
Hey, Sheena.
Hi, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Good, good. I have two questions. So one question is, ever since I started opening up more spiritually, I've noticed that I feel like I'm absorbing a lot of people's energy, and at times it feels extremely disorienting. Especially, I work in a hospital, so whenever I'm dealing with patients, I can immediately sense when someone's a little worse off than they are, and even when I'm doing patient care, I'm doing labs on them, I feel like I'm suctioning something out of them, or sometimes I feel like someone stuck a straw in me and is just sucking out. And after when they're gone and everything, I feel like I almost like my soul lifted from my body and got thrown right back. And it's extremely disorienting. And I really don't know what to do because I can't quit my job. But
no, yeah. Like it's just you could call it like energy management is like probably all what you really need. And so there's two things that I would suggest for you.
Okay.
So one is this oil called hyssop. And hyssop is very good for deepening the breath and cleaning up the energy body. But one of the things that it works really, really super well for is it reduces the tendency in us to absorb negativity from other people or environments, right?
Okay.
And you're in an environment, if you're working in a hospital or in a doctor's office, you're dealing with sick people all the time. So it's going to be really hard for you not to be able to like take that on. Like it's what you're spending a majority of your day doing, and it's just the nature of the animal, of the beast, you know, it's that kind of work. And so I think you'll find that very helpful. It's clearing, it deepens the breath, it helps with like certain kinds of protection in the energy body. And so it works really well for that. And then the other thing that I would do is, you know, because you're in medical field and you're helping people, you know, they're not doing it consciously, but there's these like things called energetic cords or connections that happen between you and the people that you're, you know, helping and serving with. And so they're not always negative, but because of what they're going through, they're a little contaminated or negative because of that, right?
Yeah.
And so there is a blend called etheric cords that can be very helpful, that will help clean up the cords. Or there's a single oil called iron bark eucalyptus.
Okay.
And either the etheric cords or the iron bark eucalyptus for the cleaning of the cords, because, you know, you'll probably find like you're at work and all of a sudden you start getting tired or sleepy. It's
Right.
the cords. It's the cords. They're courting people that are in their vicinity because they're needing life force to get better. But at the same time, it's like an unauthorized withdrawal on your end, and it's causing you fatigue. It's causing you to not be able to concentrate. It, you know, eventually can even cause a little bit of some mild health issues and things. And so, you know, they're usually fatigue related.
Yeah.
And
It's extremely disorienting. I feel
yeah,
like
it's
I've got spinning.
Yeah.
It's certain people are stronger than others, but when
Yeah.
they leave, I'm like, whoo.
Yeah.
And
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
to cut the cords, so that's for cleaning the cords. And if you want to take it a step further, and this would also help with protection, would be to inhale rue at the end of every day. And that
Okay.
would disconnect the cords,
Okay.
right? So some of them you're interacting with them. So even if you disconnect, you're still going to reconnect them shortly. So I would say save rue to the end of the day. Do etheric cords. I just keep it in your pocket. And like, if you have an interaction with somebody where you go, oh, that felt weird, step into
Yeah.
the other room or while you're doing your paperwork and just inhale it a bunch. And you'll
Okay.
notice it starts making everything feel better. And if you use the hyssop on a regular basis, it will
Yeah.
diminish the tendency for you to absorb things from those environments.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're so
And I have one more question, if you don't mind.
yeah,
I
fire
have,
away.
so again, like, I have this boss that, she's, it's the strangest thing is that I feel like I trigger something inside her, and, and again, I can sense it because I know it's not me because I can
Mhm.
sense my energy and I can sense hers, and to the point where it's so strong, like I trigger her and I guess she's starting to trigger me, that I even when I switch to a different department, she always finds me. So she also now has switched to my department, and it's to the point where it's affecting my thought process, and I could even sense like I'm anxious and nervous for no
Right.
reason, or I'm in heightened, like, vigilant alert mode. Like, is she gonna do something? Is she gonna try? Or it's just this uneasy, unsafe feeling, and it's
Did you
affecting. Mhm.
did you guys ever have like an incident or an argument or?
Yeah. Well, she's had several with several people, but it's to the point where I think I trigger the most because I actually nudged back to the point where I mean, everything was brought to the light, basically. And you know, yeah, we had some disagreements, but it's the oddest thing because I thought we would be separated from each other, and we just got pushed further towards one another to the point where it's just
I think that same thing, like, you know, it could be like those cords, sometimes there's energy stuck in those cords that still affect each other, you know, they're still affecting each one of you guys. And the more that you clean those out, the more that you can just kind of like potentially step away from her and it's still not being pulled out. Like it's sometimes it's that energy that lingers that they're still trying to resolve, but sounds like it's all done. It's just, it keeps lingering. And so like when you get the etheric cords, sit and think about her and then inhale them, like say at night, like you're at home, you've had a day's work, you know, sit and think about like some of the people that where you're having maybe a strong reaction to, like, you know, a patient who was really wanting something from you or is really pulling on you, you know, sit and think of those people, but think about her, you know, several times, like over, you know, like a few weeks, like every night, just sit and inhale, think about her. And then when you're done, inhale the roux. And so you're going to first do the etheric cord, think of her. And then after that, think of her and inhale the roux, which will sever negative cords and see if that resolves it. As far as the triggering, there are things that we can do, but I think it's just because of the cords. And so, you know, even if you calm it down and those cords are real contaminated, you know, because of the past events and stuff, you're just going to keep having that happen again. So I would say, let's clean it all up. And then if there's still a thing where there's some triggering, I can walk you through like a little process, but I think it's just the dirty cords.
Okay. Yeah, because I thought it was karmic at first because I'm like, wherever I go, you're right there.
Well, if you're triggering her, there's part of her that wants to avoid you, and there's part of her that wants to engage you to try to figure it out. You know, just like when you have like a sore in your mouth, like, you know, say you have a sore around your tooth and like 2 or 3 times a minute, you keep touching it with your tongue. It's like, it hurts. I don't want to do that. But at the same time, I'm still checking on it, monitoring it, wanting to see if it's changing or getting better. It's like that, but on steroids. Like, you know, she might get triggered by you, but at the same time, there's also like a weird curiosity about it as well. And like you said, you just need to be done and be able to walk away from it. And if she's tracking you down, you're definitely triggering her for whatever reason. But the more you clean that up, the more you can just walk away.
Got it. Thank you so much, Greg.
You're so welcome. Keep us posted if you need help with this. Like, this should resolve some of the things you're talking about, but if we need to do more, there's more things to do. I just don't want to overload you. I think that's a really good starting place.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
And again, we will start in a minute for the deeper practice, but if you still have questions, feel free to raise your hand or unmute yourself. I have some questions here in chat. I'm going to go read to Greg. Can we take, or is there a value with taking sage internally? It really revitalizes me topically or in a salt bath.
I would probably stick mostly topical or inhalation or the salt bath. If you do want to start taking sage internally, you know, some of them can be a little too strong to take too much internally, for especially if it's a long period of time. But if you are going to do that, I would do Spanish sage. Spanish sage has a slightly different chemistry to it, and taking that internally, you could do it long periods of time. You could do, you know, a few drops a day, and it would be pretty good. And so, for me personally, I use a lot of sage personally. And I kind of rotate through them. Like I do Spanish sage, I do regular sage, Dalmatian sage, and you know, my fancy one is I go to the Blue Mountain sage. I really like the Blue Mountain sage. And so, you know, I kind of rotate them, but I'm with you. Like it does something for the body and for for the brain and the mind that, you know, it's hard to find other oils that do quite that. And so I find that topically usually gets it, but if you are going to want to start doing it, like when we do the things for like cholesterol or processing fatty foods and things like that, you know, you do rosemary, verbena, and cypress, and then sage, but the sage that we use is Spanish sage, so that you can take, you know, a big dosage if you needed to, and it would be fine. So,
Yeah, go ahead, Letty.
hey, Letty.
Hi, Greg and Sam. How are y'all doing?
Hey.
Hey. So I don't know if it's because of the full moon or whatever, but our kids were like just off the chart today. And I'm thinking like, okay, for next time, I need to be prepared for the next full moon because I don't know what was going on today. But African bluegrass would be good for like in general for everybody.
Yeah, and like with full moons, like a lot of times it's like emotional things coming up. And so like things like Gilead might be good, or, you know, anything that's just kind of clearing to like emotions or lower emotions.
And everything started like really like just before the bell rang. I was like, oh my God, what kind of day are we gonna have, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but okay, so that would probably, you suggest more Gilead to like diffuse in the room?
Yeah, like something just to diffuse. Yeah. You know, it's because like with the full moon, like emotions can come up a little bit easier. And so, and they're amplified a little bit. So you could do that, or things that are just coming, you know, as I'm saying that, you know, what actually might be nice is lemongrass. Like diffuse a bunch of lemongrass in there, bouncing to the nervous system, very relaxing, very soothing, has a bit of a cleansing effect. That's what actually what I would do.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Greg. I have one more question for you.
Yeah.
And I had asked this, I think, a while back to Sam, but I know we're always like back and forth and we don't really, sometimes we don't get everything. But so there is my boss's, I want to say it's aunt, and it's an aunt, I believe.
Mhm.
She's an older lady. I want to say she's in her 70s, and she's just getting robbed by this so-called like fiance or something that's supposed to be coming from the military, but this guy has already taken so much money for her, it's not even funny.
What is he? What is he?
He's just like a so-called fiance that's going to come from the military.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And he has just wiped her out, and like they've tried everything, and this lady will just not give up. I mean, so this is like kind of there's actually, I mean, there's a person behind it, but of course he's using a fake picture and everything. But I mean, could you cut cords from that?
Cords, yeah, clean the cords and cut the cords.
Okay, and even though like we don't
all,
know
all those kind of little grifts like that, it's you know, even if they don't do energy stuff, like how they pull it off is cords.
Okay, but how do you do this when you don't know like the other person? You just know it's you know, they use a picture and they use a name, but it's not the actual person. Does it matter? Like,
no, I would just like the person, like, you know, if you're just doing it with energy, like form the intention, the person posing as their fiance, and then do it like that.
okay.
Like I never, like when I was doing healing, I never used a picture. Like a lot of times I could do it with a name, but if somebody just started talking, like you kind of listened to who they're talking about and you can start tapping into that person. A lot of times I didn't even need a name.
Okay.
Yeah, like just kind of like almost like listen to what they're saying and just follow it to that person and then do it that way. You can have her inhale the etheric cords and the root, but she's probably not super motivated to let go of it. And so I would manually cut those cords.
Okay. Okay, I'll try that.
Use your disintegrator. Like, don't just go, like, really get in and cut those cords.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Greg. Thank you.
Yourself.
And then go ahead, Cindy.
Hey. Hi. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the Metatron class coming up, because I'm trying to figure out which classes I can take this month and to increase my goal is to increase my ability to work on other people. So but I just love Metatron. So
So in a way, like this idea of the materializations of Metatron, it's about, you could say, like not just transmuting, but like transfiguring the elementals like within your system. And you're bringing light into 8 particular areas. Like one is about like family life. One is about like your career. One is about like your health. One is about your spiritual practice. One, so there's these like 8 areas that, we might not be super active in all these different areas, but active enough to where it's a theme that's for everybody. Even if we don't engage all 8, there's still something that is universal from person to person. And in a way, you're bringing light into these 8 areas that would make up, your life or your personality and the way that you interact with the environment, the situations and socially and things, but also internally, it is a cultivation of like emptiness or a clearer mind, quieter mind. And in the transfiguring of the elementals, that is like in Buddhism, how you come to like the empty mind or the Buddha mind, or it is through the transfiguration of these elementals. In the Native American tradition, it would be associated with, how we're doing the 4 directions this next weekend. Those are like kind of the outer manifestations. The 8 manifestations of Metatron is like the inner 4 directions and the inner elements. And like in a way, like when you've done it, like sometimes even a few times, but like if you've gone through and done the class that we're talking about, the 8 materializations of Metatron, for example, like, when you turn to the north, your energy body shifts a particular way. And then when you turn, it activates more of the lower centers, right? And then when you turn to the east, it activates more of the upper centers. And then when you turn to the south, it depletes a little bit because you're releasing energy. And then to the west is more like a green prana. So it's a refinement, it's cleansing, but it's also refining the energy body, right? So when you go through and you do these 8 materializations of Metatron, it's like you're working these inner like 8 directions, and it's actually even not just the 4, but the points in between the 4, like the northeast, the northwest, the southeast, the southwest, and at some point, it usually doesn't even take very long. It doesn't matter which direction you're facing. Like if you turn your body to the east, you've already physicalized Eastern energy, or you've already integrated Northern energy. So like the directions externally stop mattering as much because you've internalized them. And so like if you're in your house, regardless of what door direction or whatever you have, you're bringing in north, you're bringing in east, you're bringing in the energies. And so you're manifesting the light in these different areas to stimulate the movement in your life. But in doing so, it's changing the elementals that have made up your past experiences and conditioning and shifted them so that it allows for higher mental faculties to come in, you could say.
Wow. You didn't make the decision any easier.
Yeah, I feel that it's like going to be an important class, and so we're wrapping up the study group for the Metatron class. And the thing that we're going to follow it up with is the 8 materializations of Metatron, because I mean, I think it's a pretty important thing. Like it's psychologically, I think it has a big impact, but even like kind of spiritually and in getting things done in the world, like it helps like open up pathways for you, you could say.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily like how like some of the other classes where like we're going to do the materialization process for a goal. right? This one is we're gonna work the aspects of health. We're gonna work the aspects of you know, education and your experiences and wisdom, and then we're going to work things for family and relationships, and you know, you just kind of bounce through these different these 8 different aspects to cultivate this. And so
No,
yeah.
I understand. I think working on the inside before I work on the exterior is probably the better route to take
Yeah.
as far as taking the 2 classes.
Sorry, I
All
didn't
right.
make it any easier though.
No. But you did make
Yeah,
it clear.
yeah.
I was just giving you a hard time.
I
Thank you.
know. I know.
All right. Thanks.
Good talking.
Ditto.
All right, question. I don't know if this is gonna be clear, so let's see if we can get some clarifying things if needed.
Mhm.
I'm looking for an oil to aid in letting go of objects. And having sorrow over waste is eased, even erased in. Their kind of follow-up example was, I call it the if it tastes good, spit it out diet.
Actually, that was a reference to somebody saying she was on the diet, but she didn't like the taste of anything.
Oh, funny. I thought it was
That's
both together. Sorry.
Right. I used to call it the diet from hell, except it was so good for you. I just had to call it the if it tastes good, spit it out diet. But what I'm trying to get to is what I like an oil that will help me to say goodbye to all the things I have to say goodbye to, and to not feel bad about having to say goodbye to all those things. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's like mowing down a field of flowers and not feeling bad about the fact I had to mow down all the flowers. I mean, a poor analogy, but you catch my drift, I think.
Do you have some aloes?
Oh, yes.
I would inhale
Sea
aloes and I would put aloes. Yeah, any of them would work. Put some on your temple and even a little bit around the ear, but inhale a lot. Even on the heart, you can put a little bit on the heart.
Okay, great. And that will be, and I won't, it's just because I know it's got to go. I'm used to trying to protect it all, the stuff that man makes, and I just can't anymore. Did we make too much
I think
stuff?
we were kind of talking about that when I was there.
We did talk about that. And you mentioned that, oh, I saw that flash of sadness on your face. And it's like, well, yeah. I mean,
you look like you got really sad when you were talking about it.
Well, every object you own has got thousands of people potentially behind it. The guy who designed it, the guy who imagined it, the guy who made it, the guy who packaged it, the guy who put it in the box, the guy who put the box in the truck, the guy who drives the truck. And we haven't even got out of the factory yet.
The aloes should help with the attachment. But if you feel like sadness or something, you know, there's that sadness and grief blend, but there's also the ginger lily that we were just talking about a little while ago. That might be the thing that you might want to use.
Okay, good. I had already taken the notes and figured that ginger lily and the
ginger lily is really good for
sadness.
Yeah,
the sadness and grief. So aloes, okay, it's snorting, as we said in the old days, and attaching to temples and heart. Okay, great. Thank you. And maybe I'll send a box of the wonderful stuff to you. And that may not actually be a joke. Thank you.
Well, you know, one of our employees, she's an actress and then also does, what does she do? Like the wardrobe stuff for, and so like things like that, they always need things for the wardrobe department where she does her little acting troupe. And so, you know.
Well, that's part of the problem. It's like, I have the biggest drawer of, you know, like your dad had the drawer in his desk and your mom had the drawer in the kitchen, that all the interesting, weird little things ended up. There's no particular value to them, but they're just fascinating little doodads and thingamabobs and gadgets and widgets and things. And I mean, I know I just have to throw them over my shoulder and say, bye, you know? Anyway, thank you. I am already feeling better about it, but golly, there's just so much of it. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
And you're still getting a box.
Question, what are some oils for cerebral spinal fluid circulation?
Helichrysum, chamomiles work really good for that. The frankincense and myrrh work really good for that. Ginger lily can help with that. Cape snowbush. I feel like I'm missing a couple.
Yeah, I didn't quite catch all of them.
Oh, spike lavender. Spike lavender is amazing for cerebral spinal fluid circulation. Not any of the other lavenders, it's just spike lavender. And spike lavender, it smells like lavender, but it's actually not a true lavender. So it does have some slightly different properties to it. And spike lavender is one of the oils used even by a French physician back in the day for treating cerebral spinal fluid circulation issues. Because he would give pretty decent sized dosages of spike lavender applied to like the chest and neck and back of the head.
And great questions tonight, great guys. I know when you ask questions, it always helps other people too. So definitely thank you for all those questions.
So let's do something where we work on the breath a little bit. And so if you have some hyssop or you have larch or anything that's respiratory in nature, a eucalyptus, even a lavender, spruces like Sitka or black spruce, white spruce, a fir, a pine, terebinth, rosemary, anything that's in that genre. I just thought we'd do a little tune-up on the lungs right now, on the respiratory tract. Okay, so let's go ahead and have you start inhaling. And as you start to inhale, your awareness is on your lungs. Long, slow, deep breaths, and your awareness is on your lungs. Now, as you're inhaling, notice are there areas that feel a little tighter, feel a little denser, feel a little more restricted? A lot of times it's either up high or really down low. So wherever that is, put your awareness on that spot and try to direct more of the energy from the oils as you're inhaling to that area. You're still taking long, slow, deep breaths. And then just let go for a moment. Just let go. Begin inhaling again. This time your awareness is on the back heart, the area between the shoulder blades. You're inhaling, your awareness is on the back heart. You're taking long, slow, deep breaths. And then just let that go again. Your awareness is on the little notch between the two collarbones at the bottom of your throat, like this area right here. Take long, slow, deep breaths with your awareness on that part of the bottom of your throat. You're taking long, slow, deep breaths. Your awareness is on the bottom of your throat. And then just let go. And then begin inhaling again. Inhale the oil and take one big, long, slow, deep breath, and then hold your breath. Hold it. Keep holding. And then as slow as you can, just let it out. And then just let yourself breathe normally again. And again, long, slow, deep breath, and then hold your breath. Really fill it up. And then once you do, you're going to do this. Like you're holding your breath, twist, 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 twist. Try to twist your whole torso. There you go. And after 3 or 4 times, then let the air out. Okay, and then again, long, slow, deep breath. Hold your breath. And then twist, 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 twist. And then let it out. Begin inhaling again. Your awareness is on your back solar plexus, which is your mid-back area. And then again, long, slow, deep breath. Hold your breath. And then twist side to side. And then again, inhale. Hold your breath. And then twist side to side. And then just be still for a second. Begin inhaling again. Your awareness is on your lungs. Feel the heaviest part of your lungs, the most restricted part of your lungs. Inhale into that area. And then just be still. Just be still. Where do you feel that in your body? As you've gone through and worked on your lungs, do you feel it in your neck, your shoulders, your back, your legs, your feet? Where do you feel this in your body right now? Your awareness is on that spot. Inhale the oil into that area. And then just be still. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. I know that for a lot of you, the 4 directions that we're doing on the weekend is a review. So I hope to see you there, or maybe even tomorrow night. We are going to switch over to the prayer blessing, the blessing of the prayer petitions for Astara. So if you'd like to join us with that, it's a little short kind of meditation / blessing. We'll provide the link, but take care, you guys.